connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
Ball gets out pretty well, so does Rogers come next to him. Ward bumps again to the sideline.
At Fusion Sport, we're all about driving human performance. We develop and support a range of technologies all designed to assist people to be their best. Smartabase is used by hundreds of elite sporting organisations across the globe, and more recently has been used by the military and performing arts as well.
Our Smartabase technology has at the heart of it an integrated and connected philosophy. What's different about Smartabase is that it's truly flexible and self-engineerable. That really puts the power into our customers' hands, and it allows them to use it in unique ways that perhaps we haven't even thought of.
Between ourselves and the rest of the field, but here comes Jemmy Stone.
What's going on, everybody? Your man Eric Wilson here for the Sports Arena on a Wednesday night, and we're going to do things a little bit different here this evening on the Sports Arena, but I'll explain that to you in just a moment. First and foremost, let me get the entire crew in here so they can say hello. First up, our girl, as always, 806 Sports, Dallas Wings representative. She is the queen of hoops. Miss Megan Price is in the building. What's up, Megan? How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. I want to see your shirt because I think I saw a little bit earlier.
Hey.
So, okay, representing the Dallas Wings. I love that. I love that. Next up, we got our man, Sideline Sports, and of course, Cardiac Kane, Mr. John Shears in the building. Just saying, John, tremendous work yet again, my brother, that you and our brother Alex did at the Hall of Fame game. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited. We have a lot of football news that's been coming out. There's a lot of football stuff to talk about, man. I'm excited.
We're going to save that for Monday night's show. I got some things in the works that we need to talk about. Let me get this brother in here because when I tell you he is a true workhorse, not only is he working with the future generations, but he is also, hosting and producing his own show that he does every Tuesday night, 8:30, Facebook, iHeart, YouTube, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. My man, Tyree, say it again. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
Hey, like I said, man, great show last night. The combination of you and Chuck and Avery and Ray Lynn was awesome. You kind of don't need James, but I mean, you throw him in there. I get you. I understand it.
Don't do my guy like that, man. Even though he's a Cowboy fan.
Listen, I got to put up with two Cowboy fans on this show. And speaking of Cowboy fans, last but not least, my brother, Mike, I got to love you, man. But, the season is getting ready to start, which means you and I will become enemies at some point this season, especially week 3. I got to be nice to Megan, but you, on the other hand, we got 12 years of history, so you know.
Wow. I mean, you have to be nice because your team's been a doormat for a while. So
for a while,
though,
I'm sorry.
Hey, I got nothing but love for you.
3 years ago, I'm sorry. Did we not win the whole damn thing?
Well,
I mean, let me just ask that question, Mike. Did we or did we not?
And like I said, you did, and I gave you your props. I mean, you finally made the division, the only division to have every team with a Lombardi trophy. So,
okay,
I like it. I like it. You know, it's fine. I mean, hey, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn some days, right?
What you laughing at, Megan? Your future ex-husband still got them shoulder issues, but we won't talk about that tonight.
True.
So, listen, in honor of Disney and Marvel dropping their new series called What If, I figured tonight on the Sports Arena, we would do our own What If segment, if you will. So I asked each of you to give me a what if, but I'm going to give it to somebody else because I want to get their thought and opinion. So, ladies first, Miss Megan Price. Oh, let's see. Which one do I want to give you? So let's start with this. Megan Price, here is the what if. What if Michael Vick never broke his leg?
I mean, he could have probably been one of the most mobile quarterbacks we've ever seen.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow, that was too fast for words. Gentlemen, anybody else here want to? But I mean, here's the what if Michael Vick never broke his leg?
I think it's just hard to take away his time that he wasn't in the league. I think that probably would have been the better question. What if he never went to jail?
What if he never got caught up in dog fighting? What would his career have been?
Right.
That was part 2 of the what if, but I wanted to focus on the breaking of the leg part because
he would have broke more records. He would have broke so many more records, but not just running, yes, but passing. I mean, look, the way Michael Vick could throw the ball, yes, his legs were the ultimate luxury because if you got close, he'd take off downfield. But before he broke his leg, he was kind of working on like the Steve Young, like going, to obviously his strong side to his left, like sprinting to his left because there ain't nobody. I mean, he was the true definition of if he's leaving, or if he's even, he's leaving because there ain't nobody that was going to catch him in the open field. So that to me, I mean, the amount of records, the dual records, he would be like he would have been yesteryear's Russell Westbrook, except it wouldn't be like triple doubles. It would just be rushing and passing. And hell, who knows? Maybe he even would have thrown himself a ball, Eric.
All right. So let's talk about that second piece because Ty was the one who did put the question out there. And he did say if he never got caught up in the dog fighting that he did. So let's ask about that then. What if Michael Vick never would have been caught up in that and would have had to spend almost 2 years in prison? What would we be saying about the legacy of Michael Vick?
I definitely think that probably caused more hurt to his career than the actual injury. He still found a way to overcome his injury, but that time that he missed from the NFL, I think was more of a hindrance than his actual injury. Even though the injury was bad, obviously, I mean, it was a break, but I think he found a way to overcome that. But that time away from the league, it just seemed like he never got his momentum back from that. And just his actual size and his ability how mobile he was an excellent quarterback, but that time away from the league, and then he has such a tarnished image after that. And I do believe in second chances. I've needed a second chance or 2 or 3, but it's different when you're in the public eye like that. And some people just never forget.
All right. Well, Ty, you raised the question. So give me your thoughts on this.
I came up in I guess you could say the Michael Vick era. And, obviously, no disrespect to Randall Cunningham or any of the scrambling quarterbacks before him. But to me, he kind of changed, he changed a lot in my era. I came through school in, what year was it? I graduated
Every
high
kid
school.
wanted to be Vick, yeah.
Yeah, I graduated in 2004. And, he was drafted into the league in 2001. So it's like his impact on me is a lot different than most people because everybody around that time, you seen guys like trying to run. I remember our quarterback for my high school team, he got hurt doing a Michael Vick move. Michael Vick would do a move where he would run and he would jump up in the air and spin around. And, guys would just miss him. And our quarterback did it, and he got hurt his back. I think he was out for the season. But, so, it's just Michael Vick, man. He was, the other guys, they kind of like, except for maybe Randall Cunningham, a lot of the guys I didn't really see. But, I don't think we ever seen anybody that fast that played quarterback that had such a strong
throw
arm.
like that.
Yeah, he had such a strong arm. I was looking at it even the year before. The year before he broke his leg, he almost threw for 3,000 yards. He had 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 81% rating. So, he had a great season. And like Megan said, he comes back that next year. He got hurt. And then, the year before he got caught with the dog fighting or whatever, he ran for 1,000 yards and threw for 2,500. So, like she said, it just really hurt him. I think if he doesn't go to jail, I think we'd be talking about him as a potential Hall of Fame player. I don't know if he would have ever won in Atlanta because he didn't really have a whole lot around him. You could probably argue that his best weapon at any time would have been Peerless Price.
Peerless Price.
Peerless Price. Yeah. So, and I know he had Warwick Dunn for a while, but he's a running back. And he had one of my favorite tight ends, Algie Crumpler, at the time.
Algie Crumpler.
Yeah, but
I haven't heard that name forever.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I remember because I used to play with them on Madden. That was my favorite team.
Yeah, everybody did, yeah.
TJ Duckett, Algie Crumpler, Peerless Price.
We had the rule where nobody could be the Falcons. That was our rule. Nobody could be the Falcons.
But Eric, he would have been another thing too. You're talking about the when he signed that contract too. I know that was obviously after the injury and the broken leg too, of the broken leg. But if he didn't go to jail for dogfighting, he would have been the first Kirk Cousins because he signed that 10-year, $150 million deal with. I think at the time it was like a 50 or a $47 million sign, whatever it was. It was ridiculous, but it was a signing bonus, and he would have probably collected all 10 years of that. Maybe at years 8 or 9, they would have, maybe they release him, but I don't know because he was so young and like Ty's just saying, so electric that, and the dogfighting too. Again, if his name wasn't Michael Vick, none of his other friends that were in it who allegedly turned on him. That case was a mess, and Megan's right. He did deserve a second chance. But obviously it did hurt the time away. That being said, though, like everybody forgets,
he came back and played really well in the Eagles.
He did. He played really well.
Let's not discredit that.
He did. I didn't realize how good he played.
Hey, they got rid of Donovan McNabb for him. So it didn't at that point. The Eagles did at that point. It didn't matter.
It was time.
Remember the Redskins because they were Redskins at the time. The Monday Night Football game, 333 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns.
Oh yeah,
59-28 blowout.
In the first
play of
the game, he launches one to Deshaun Jackson, who takes it to the house. I'll never forget that.
But he missed 3 years in his prime, man. That's a lot.
Right.
And it's impressive to come back and play that well.
But he did deserve a second chance. I'll end my thought on this, Eric. He did deserve a second chance because 95% of these people like that follow the Michael Vick thing and all these PETA people saying, oh, he shouldn't be allowed. Like, it is sad. But 90% of those PETA people couldn't tell you who Leonard Little is and couldn't tell you what he did. And for those that don't know, go look up Leonard Little. Yes, it was a different commissioner, but it doesn't matter. It was a million zillion times more egregious. And again, we get it. Dogs cannot protect themselves. I'm not condoning, Eric, as you know, dog fighting. It's terrible. Nope. That being said, people can't answer what Leonard Little did, especially all those people from PETA. So them I had no respect for. But Michael Vick, yeah, you're right, Ty. 3 years in his prime, it ended up being like 2.5. But still, in his
I'm talking about if you add on the broke leg, it's like 3.5.
Yeah. So but it's just it's definitely the career that could have been because everybody just kept saying he was a runner when he when he unleashed that ball a lot of those to Peerless Price. I mean, it was ridiculous. You even looked at it, if you watch him at Virginia Tech too, yeah, they ran him a lot, but you knew that he could throw the ball. I mean, he could chuck, and he was accurate downfield. So to me, that's the biggest bummer because, yeah, you're talking about a Hall of Famer. You're talking about a lot of records. And that part of it, I mean, definitely got taken away from people that love the game. That part sucks.
Yeah, most guys that can run like him is always a question of their arm. His arm was never a question. I think the more so the question with him was when he gets out the pocket, is he going to take a real big hit? Because they didn't protect quarterbacks back then like they do now.
Of course. All right.
And yeah. So he finished with over 6,000 rushing yards despite all that, 36 rushing touchdowns. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, I don't know if you would consider him maybe you would put some of the things that he did in the Hall of Fame, maybe cleats or something like that, because they do have a lot of things like that at the Hall of Fame. Wouldn't necessarily put him in, but he did change the game forever. I mean, he changed the game forever with what he did. And you got to remember with what Ty was saying about how he almost broke 3,000 1 year, things like that. 4,000 wasn't normal back then to hit. That was an iconic mark to hit, 4,000 back then. Now it's like you hit 4,000. It's 4,000 now is a new 3,000.
Right.
It's
the expectation.
4,000. Yeah.
Exactly. Let me go ahead and welcome in, Florida Sun and NSPN's Mr. Alex Fleming in the building. Alex, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Man, I had to work. After work, I'm having to rush over here to get to a spot to do this show. I'm hearing you talk about Michael Vick, and I'm like, damn, I'm missing something.
Well, we're doing the what if tonight here on the Sports Arena. And, of course, that was the first what if, graciously by our man Todd Ray. What if Michael Vick never broke his leg and also never went to jail? That was the what if. What could have been?
I think if Michael Vick never breaks his leg and never goes to jail, he takes the Atlanta Falcons to the Super Bowl. You got to think they made it to an NFC Championship game with Michael Vick, considering all the things that was against him. They played against Philadelphia, and they barely lost that game. Michael Vick never gets caught up with that dogfighting, trying to help out his brother and his homeboys. He probably takes the NFC South by storm. You got to think, nobody was messing with Michael Vick back then. He was the human highlight. He made Minnesota Vikings defenders look stupid, and nobody could catch up with him on his speed. Him, Warwick Dunn, and T.J. Duckett, I believe, was the fullback. They had that thing on lock. And Algie Crumpler was the original man to go to if you didn't have Tony Gonzalez. You got to think he left in his prime. Broken leg, 2.5 years for dogfighting. They treat dogs better than they treat humans, bro. Because we all know, we've seen instances where humans were treated worse than dogs. And they're like, well, what about the dog? Dog can't defend himself. Now, I'm not saying I'm for dogfighting. I'm not. But what I am saying is that he got a raw deal. And even when he came back, referees weren't calling calls for him. Every time he threw the ball, he was on the ground. You can see referees in the background watching him get hit 2 seconds after he releases the football. And, players taking cheap shots on him because they didn't agree with what he did. And it's a damn shame.
Hey, Alex, the only thing I do want to say, though, about the chip, the only reason why I don't know about the chip is because y'all had his number, man. Like Tampa Bay, oh, my. Every time. I've never really seen him have a good game against Tampa Bay because the speed y'all had, Simeon Rice, even Warren Sapp is a lot faster than people give him credit for. Derrick Brooks, John Lynch.
We weren't playing those games with him.
Yeah,
we were not playing those games with him.
I think he was lucky to get past y'all the one time he did to get to the Eagles. I don't know how many other times he would have been able to get by y'all because y'all were the one team that could contain him with that speed on the outside.
Amen.
All right, let me get the gang back in here.
That was also a Hall of Fame defense, too.
No, it was.
Yes, it was. Let me get the crew back in here. We're going to keep it going here. So my next what if, and I'm just going to go ahead and keep everybody on here. But let's here's an interesting one by our man, Mr. Mike Carrottenuto. What if Jimmy Johnson never left Big D? John Scheer, let me go to you on that one.
See, I don't know if it changes much of anything because Troy Aikman his career ended up being cut short because of concussion. So if that still happens, if there's no butterfly effect and that still happens, I'm not so sure Jimmy Johnson wins another championship. I mean, they did have their run, but I think that was about it. I mean, remember Michael Irvin's career was cut short too. So if there's no butterfly effect in that regard, really don't think that they end up getting more championships out of that. They got about as much as they were going to get out of that team. And, Jimmy Johnson tried that in Miami, tried the same thing in Miami, and it just didn't quite work because, he thought you could just push one style and it was going to work. And, he was a great coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Obviously we see that over the past weekend, but he didn't quite know how to push all the buttons. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it would have changed much of anything. I think he got his championships and he got the most out of it. I guess that's all I could say for that. That's just me, though.
Let me go to my Dallas fans, Mike Caratanudo and Megan Price. Let me ask both of you. Mike, this was your question. Megan, you're a Cowboys fan. If Jimmy Johnson never left Big D, what do you think potentially maybe shoulda, woulda happened?
I really think that maybe Jerry would have been able to keep some of his over general managing in check if he actually had a coach to tell him no, or someone that he respected to tell him no. Him and Jimmy Johnson, they went to college together. They were lifelong, really long friends. They ended up going fishing together after the Super Bowl, get into an argument. They're drunk. And Jimmy's like, you know what? You can't fire me. Very next day, Jerry fired him. So, it was kind of a pissing contest who had more power. And obviously it's Jerry's team. He has the most power. But if he had somebody to actually tell him no and what direction to go, I think the possibilities are endless. I don't know if it would have affected Jimmy any differently because of the points where he said that, Troy's career was cut short. Michael Irving's career was cut short. But down the line, would he have allowed Jason Garrett to keep his job that long? Would Jason Garrett have even gotten his job? And then, there was several other coaches that we went through, Parcells, several others during that time that he got rid of and that were good coaches. Would he have gotten rid of them if someone had actually ever told him no?
Well, Norv Turner you say Parcells to answer that. Like Parcells basically said, like, I could work for that guy, but he was going to do it his way. And when Parcells left a year late, but when Parcells left, the cabinets were very full. To John's point, he's been swimming with the fishes for too long, Megan, because first of all, I know there wasn't going to be another Herschel Walker trade. Like the NFL was not going to let that happen. I mean, if Minnesota would have done that again, I would have probably been like investing in Minnesota Vikings jerseys just out of homage for the stupidity of them for doing that. But there wouldn't be a Herschel Walker trade. But Jimmy Johnson and Bill Cowher changed what linebackers were in the NFL. Like there are no coaches that did that before because they went, instead of linebackers being 275, 280 pounds, that could stuff the run, and middle linebackers and that, because some could get outside, were more athletic. They trimmed them down, and that's where it started with Jimmy Johnson, was on defense. So he was a hell of an evaluator of talent. You don't coach at Miami and win that much at the time, the Hurricanes, and win national titles, be up for national titles. So he would have been, as a drafter, as a talent evaluator, the way he grinded, like I say, and again, championships, you see what happens. It could happen. But the way he coached and what he always had on defense and his talent evaluation, that wasn't going away. So, yes, their careers being cut short was tough. Emmitt's wasn't cut short. They always drafted the best offensive linemen, which none of them were first-round picks, zero in the first round. So Jimmy wasn't a talent evaluator. And you saw after that, Switzer came in 2 years later, won a Super Bowl with Jimmy's team. And then after that, Megan's right. It was just a carousel of coaches until Parcells pretty much got there and settled it down. And then we get stuck with Bozo the Clapper clown forever. And there's no way, as Alex loved that and smiles, because there's no way that Jason Garrett, to answer your question, Megan, in my opinion, lasts that long if you had somebody like Jimmy Johnson that had lasted a long time. Because, look, I go to the Steelers model. I'm not saying Jimmy would have been there 15, 18 years, but the Steelers are the only team that has not had a losing season since 2003. Their last losing season was back in 2003. So do I think Jimmy Johnson could have done something like that with his talent evaluation? As much as when I first met Eric, we debated about that. Like, he could get talent. Like, the Eagles games were very, very chipper then. And I know Jimmy calling Buddy fat and Buddy saying, man, I hustled out middle of the field to shake his hand anyway, and him calling Buddy fat, but he was always a phenomenal evaluator of talent. That's my thing. Now, now look, injuries and whatever, and teams are going to come up, but you start overlapping some of those teams that won with the way he always drafted. I'd take my chances on that, him staying a lot longer and maybe winning one more, maybe two more, but just depending on how long he stayed.
I mean, at least as long as the Clapper.
Yeah, I will give you that one. Alex, Ty, give me your thoughts on about Jimmy Johnson if he never left Big D.
I have no comment.
Okay. Alex Fleming, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
I'll make it short because Mike took up all the damn time. They win maybe one more championship. Jerry Jones doesn't like the power struggle. He would have got rid of Jimmy any damn way. It was just a matter of time. Maybe they win one more chip, and we don't have Dallas Cowboys 26 years of long suffering, not even making it to the big dance. Other than that, I'm done.
All right, fair enough. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, we're going to get more into the what ifs. Ladies and gentlemen, you were tuning in here, and we thank you here on the Sports Arena. We will be back in just a moment. And welcome back to the Sports Arena. Your man, Eric Wilson, alongside the entire crew here tonight. Our girl, Megan Price, John Shear, Ty Ray, Mike Caratudo, and, of course, Alex Fleming. So we are doing our what-if scenarios this evening. So let me go ahead and bring a very interesting one in. And this one was brought to us courtesy of Mr. John Shear. So I want to go to Mr. Fleming with this what-if. So, Alex Fleming, I'm going to start you off very simply by saying this. What if Patrick Mahomes ended up in Chicago?
Good one.
Ooh, that is a good one. He makes the offensive weapons better. They go to the playoffs. They have high expectations, but with the line that they had, especially with Leno, the 7th-round pick that couldn't block you or me, he probably either gets injured or they make it to an NFC Championship game and they falter. You have to understand, Patrick Mahomes is surrounded by weapons and was surrounded by talent. The offensive line was solid. Tyreek Hill's no joke. Travis Kelce, the best tight end in football. Demarcus Robinson, underrated, doesn't get the respect he deserves. Nicole Hardman. They have better talent in Kansas City than they do in Chicago. However, I do see him and Aaron Rodgers having fights for the NFC North. He probably wins the division once, loses the division, but makes the wild card. Doesn't make it to the Super Bowl.
Wow, doesn't make it to the Super Bowl. Now, let me ask you a question along that, Mr. Fleming, really quick. Let me go ahead, me and you. Is that because of coaching? Because we know the defense with Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith, that they are legit. You know, you've got weapons. So I'm just curious as to your reasoning behind them not getting to the Super Bowl, being in the NFC, mind you.
I understand that, but you got to think. Look at the road that the NFC had to take to make it to the Super Bowl. The 2 times that Patrick Mahomes made it to the Super Bowl, and look at the road. Well, 3 times because they got robbed from New England. So to keep that in mind, and then look at the offensive line. Defense is solid. Leave the defense alone. I tell anybody who's a Chicago hater, leave that damn defense alone. All right. Patrick Mahomes should have been drafted in 2017 instead of Mitchell Trubisky. But we all know the symptom was Chicago and their little stigma when it came to black quarterbacks. I mean, how in the hell do you pick Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes is beyond me. But with that being said, the defense wouldn't have been an issue. And I believe he had enough weapons to probably get it done, but that offensive line wouldn't have held up. They've already switched out offensive linemen not once, not twice, but 3 times since the span that Patrick Mahomes has been drafted. And you got to think the ogre, Mr. Long, wouldn't have been there or would have been there and probably still would have retired due to nagging injuries. Ironically, he's now with Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, but you got to think the offensive line wasn't as solid as it should have been because Mr. Trubisky was a rare talent. He could run and he had a decent arm, but he got flustered because he got hit a lot. So no, I don't think they would have made it to the Super Bowl. NFC Championship, for damn sure. But Super Bowl, probably not.
All right, fair enough. Let me get the rest of the crew in here. Give me your thoughts on what if Patrick Mahomes.
I actually think it's interesting because they don't end up with Matt Nagy. The only reason they end up with Matt Nagy was because Kansas City was so good. And why was Kansas City so good? Because Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So Matt Nagy does not go to Chicago because Kansas City is not good like they were with Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes ends up in Chicago, which means they end up with a different head coach, which is quite interesting because if they get the right coach, remember the Bears have Allen Robinson. So imagine Allen Robinson and Patrick Mahomes together. That would be quite dynamic. It's not quite Tyreek Hill, cheetah speed, but he's a hell of a receiver. So if he still ends up in Chicago and he ends up with Patrick Mahomes, I'm sure that they probably do a lot more with a smarter head coach than Matt Nagy, who is an idiot. So I think things could have turned out different. And if they played Green Bay somehow in the NFC Championship, Chicago would have won because, Aaron Rodgers can't win an NFC Championship game. So that's just how I see that.
All right, Ty, Megan, Mike, anything to add on to that?
I don't know, man. It's tough, especially with these what ifs. Like John said, one little thing changes a lot. Part of the reason people say that Patrick Mahomes is so good is because of Andy Reid. I'm not saying he's not talented, but I mean he fell into a great situation. You fell into Andy Reid. What's the offensive coordinator just got the job at the Houston Texans? I forgot his name. Oh, Bieniemy. Well,
Bieniemy still with the Chiefs.
Bieniemy still with the Chiefs.
Bieniemy still with the Chiefs.
Nagy left and then Bieniemy slid in.
Okay, my fault. But yeah, you have that. You have the best tight end in all of football. No disrespect to my tight end, but you have the best tight end. You have a top 5 wide receiver. You had another guy. You had the other wide receiver they had was pretty good as well. That's no longer there no more. But he was, to me, he was pretty good. Sammy Watkins. He was just hurt while he was there. But Sammy Watkins is good. Yeah, he's always hurt. You know what I mean? Yeah, I even like Hardman. To be honest with you, I like Hardman too. I think Chicago would most definitely be good, even though Chicago hasn't really been bad. But with that defense and Patrick Mahomes, I would have to think they would be a Super Bowl contender, though.
He also got to learn behind Alex Smith for a year, too, which was really helpful for his progression, I believe.
Talking this much about the pathetic Bears offense, I never thought I'd do that one day. But if the Bears get Mahomes, then I think Andy Reid still trades up and gets Deshaun Watson. So how is Deshaun Watson's career different? Because he would have sat behind Alex Smith for a year. And again, Alex Smith, great person to learn behind, as Patrick Mahomes did. And yeah, obviously Patrick Mahomes more athletic. I think the Bears definitely could have won the division though, because I'm with Alex on that. Like they could have won the division. They still had decent running backs. Yes, the line was terrible, but having him back there, I think, would soften defenses up a little bit, because you're not letting you're not playing man the whole game. You're not just going to load the box, because he will beat you that way. So I just think that it would have been very interesting. Yes, people in Chicago would have been a lot more excited. And I think that also that Deshaun Watson doesn't end up in the dumpster fire we know as Houston. He ends up in Kansas City.
All right, Megan Price, final word, and then we're going to move on with this.
Can any of y'all name anybody else that was on his Texas Tech team junior year when he had his best performance? Can any of y'all name anybody he threw to or ran the ball? Anybody? Only other person I know from the team is Cliff Kingsbury. That's it. That's all. He was the coach at the time. And at the time, and it was his junior year, he led the NCAA Division I in yards. He had 5,052 yards, and he had a total touchdowns, which he also led in that category with 53 touchdowns. And he had no weapons. None of us can name anybody that came from that team other than the coach. From me. So I absolutely think he makes it to the Super Bowl. I don't think he wins, not there in Chicago. But I think he makes it there. I think he's that good. But winning, no.
See, okay. I can't go solely off the college stats because Colt Brennan was the all-time leader in yards and touchdowns in NCAA history. Had no weapons. Himself, Devon Best was his best receiver, and he ended up being a terrible NFL quarterback. So I can't necessarily call it the college.
The last time Tech was any good was literally when Cliff Kingsbury was the quarterback. So, I do think you have to give
they had Michael
Patrick
Crabtree
Mahomes some of his credit there. You have to give Patrick Mahomes some of his credit there. Like, he really didn't have a whole lot going on, and we know what he was doing there at Tech.
Yeah, I hate to even try and agree with John, but I remember when the quarterbacks from Hawaii was putting up them crazy numbers.
True.
And you like, man, them jokers passing for all these yards, and I ain't seen none of them do nothing in the NFL. But I get what you're saying, though, Megan. I do. But I agree with John.
He's talented enough to reach the Super Bowl, but I don't think you win.
Okay.
Not there.
All right, let's move on. I've got two more here. The next one is coming from our very own Mr. Alex Fleming. So, Mike, I'm going to go to you first on this one and simply ask you, sir, what if Oakland actually wins the Tuck rule?
Oh, Alex must have been on some wavelength with me because I was about to ask that question in honor of Woodson, but I think it does change it because, the year after they won that Super Bowl for New England, everybody always, wants to talk about how great Tom Brady was, and not that he's not talented and good, but they still missed the playoffs after winning a Super Bowl, and he was healthy. So I think if Oakland wins the Tuck rule, I think they go on a run. I think maybe John Gruden doesn't end up in Tampa as soon as he did. So does Tampa win that Super Bowl earlier? Who knows? I think he stays there. I think it was a crap rule. It was always a crap rule, but I think it changes a lot. I'm not saying that the Belichick and the Patriots don't get back to Super Bowls. I just don't think it's at that clip. And John Gruden, again, just lost, you lose some guys, and he wanted to go to Tampa, and that was that. But it would have changed. To me, it changes a lot.
Megan Price?
I think it changes the run the Patriots went on. I think that was really the start of the steam that they had on their run. And while Tom Brady is possibly one of the greatest, and we know what Belichick is, do they start to have that steam that early? Do they win that many championships if they don't get there this time? I don't think so. I think it changes that drastically.
All right. Mr. Fleming, this was a question that you brought up, sir, so I definitely want to get your thoughts and where you were coming from when you asked this question.
I had to be real with myself because I'm thinking if they don't have that BS Tuck rule go against them, Oakland wins that game. There's a minute 30 left in that game. They had possession of the ball. They're already up 3. They had 2 timeouts, yes, but all they had to do was run out the clock. 1 first down kills that game. They beat the bums that they have to play next because they had home field advantage. They win that Super Bowl. Tony Dungy doesn't get fired. Gruden stays in Oakland. They go to back-to-back Super Bowls, but I believe Tony Dungy with the Tampa Bay Bucks beat the Oakland Raiders the second time around. Oakland gets another championship. Tampa Bay stays with Dungy, wins a ship, and Charles Woodson just puts in work and never goes to Green Bay. Still a Hall of Famer. Tampa has 3 championships. Well, they have 2 because they won that next year any damn way. But yeah, no, I don't think Dungy gets fired. I think Gruden stays. Woodson stays Woodson. Tom Brady is still great, but not as great as he is now. He only has 5 rings instead of 7 because I don't think he ever goes to Tampa Bay due to the logic that they didn't make the playoffs that next year, but they make the playoffs with a vengeance. Once Oakland dies, Brady does his thing still because they still had the hoodie. He's a Sith Lord. But yeah, it changes the trajectory of Oakland and Tampa Bay dramatically.
All right. John Scheer?
I think it's interesting that Alex said Tony Dungy stays in Tampa because then is Peyton Manning not Peyton Manning because he doesn't get Tony Dungy, right? I mean, he doesn't get Tony Dungy there, and that kind of changed Peyton Manning's trajectory of his career because he started out 3-13, and he got Tony Dungy eventually, which ultimately helped change the trajectory of his career. So maybe Peyton Manning isn't quite the same guy. Remember, Jacksonville looked really good whenever they played the Patriots in that conference championship. And if they don't blow that, who knows if they go on a run, if they end up getting a quarterback, because that team was pretty damn good, even with Blake Bortles at their QB. And losing a conference championship, as we saw with Jacksonville, can derail your run for a dynasty, because they fell apart after that. Oakland wasn't quite the same after that Tuck rule, even though they did ultimately get to one Super Bowl with that. But they weren't quite the same team after that Tuck rule. So maybe if they win that, they go on a dynasty, like Alex said. And I mean, Bill Belichick wasn't quite Bill Belichick yet. I mean, you can't say he was a Sith Lord yet, because when that happened, if they don't get to that Super Bowl, he might not be the Sith Lord. And Tom Brady might not have had the same confidence that he eventually started to get after each Super Bowl. So I don't think Tom Brady's the same guy. I don't even think he really survives, because, I mean, we've seen guys get plugged in and then they don't win, and then they just rotate to a new quarterback. So I don't think the Patriots are, a dynasty if they lose that game.
Yeah, that's the one.
No, I was just going to say real quick, Ty, because when you look at the list of Super Bowl champs, they won that in 2002, and then the Bucs win in 2003, and then New England goes back-to-back. But then after that, Pittsburgh, Indy, the Giants, Pittsburgh, the Saints, the Packers, the Giants, the Ravens, the Seahawks, and then it's not till 15 that they win another Super Bowl. I get, we talk about getting to AFC championships, but we've all talked about this before. Like, second place becomes the first loser. So, yeah, you may have lost in the AFC championship game, but they didn't win. I mean, a dynasty of winning regular season games, something we crushed Peyton Manning. Oh, he could only do it in the regular season, but it was okay for Belichick and the Patriots and the dynasty. Now, I'm not saying they weren't playing in that game, but that's where I'm with you, John, is like, yeah, he's still a great coach, but there's that huge separation. And granted, they did lose 2 to the Giants in there too, because Eli Manning owns Tom Brady when it counts. So that's always nice to say. But yeah, I mean, it's just different. And they always say a game of inches, but I mean, a game of millimeters, like literally you're talking about a butterfly effect. That is a butterfly effect on the NFL to how it would have been.
Let me ask you.
How everything would have played out. Ty, go ahead. Let me get your final word. We still have one more left to go.
I know that the thing with me is I got to kind of agree with John again. I don't even know if Tom Brady would have still been the starter, because, it was, he wins the Super Bowl, obviously. Drew Bledsoe, I think Drew Bledsoe may have still been the starter in New England, because, he got hurt. And it was kind of I ain't going to say it was a big decision, but it was that offseason. I remember it being like a debate. Do you keep Brady, or do you go back to Drew Bledsoe, even though Brady won a Super Bowl? I know it's a lot harder when he wins the Super Bowl, but if he doesn't, is it that difficult of a decision to make for Bill Belichick, or does he know something that we don't know? So I think the one thing that might happen, I think you might see Tom Brady somewhere else, so you might have seen him as the backup.
Well, Ty, to piggyback off that, everybody forgets that Brady got banged up in the AFC championship game. I think it wasn't divisional, it was a championship game, I'm pretty sure. And Bledsoe actually won that game, but then, of course, obviously Brady started the Super Bowl and was –
Oh, yeah, that did happen. You're correct.
And then Bledsoe ended up in Dallas and injures his back. Do we get Tony Romo then?
See, this is why I love this. This is why I love the what ifs, because so many different scenarios. And the fact that John had brought up, okay, if the Tuck rule happens, does Dungy ever leave Tampa? Alex says no. What does become of Peyton Manning? Like, we know the career of Peyton Manning now, Hall of Famer and everything that he has done. And to his credit, he's got 2 Super Bowls, one with Indianapolis and one with Denver. But it's so curious that when you look at one simple thing that could ultimately change so many different courses, it is the ripple effect. So
I just want to say that's Von Miller's Super Bowl. That's not Peyton's Super Bowl.
Which one? You talking about the one against the Panthers?
Against the Carolina Panthers. Guys, you got to think.
That's Von Miller. That's Von Miller all the way.
This what if is basically a domino effect of what happens when you change just one thing in the timeline, and it creates ripples in the whole system.
Good question.
Yeah.
But remember, the Dolphins changed the trajectory of the NFL by not signing Drew Brees and they took Dante Culpepper, because Drew Brees then went to the Saints, and that changed the NFL for a very long time. So
yeah, because everybody was unsure about that shoulder, man.
Yep.
Yeah, but Nick Saban wanted him. All the reports say Nick Saban didn't. It was Dolphins management, a lot more people on the inside that I read that said no, he can't hold up. And Nick Saban doesn't get Drew Brees, and then there's a ripple effect.
And then Nick Saban if he gets Drew Brees,
right?
And Nick Saban might not go to college.
SEC don't get fired. How many coaches in the SEC don't get fired if Nick Saban gets Drew Brees and stays in Miami?
I'll tell you what, Alabama's probably never good again if he don't go there.
Man.
All right. Let's go on to the last one here. And this one is last one brought to our girl, Megan Price. So let me go to my Dallas Cowboy fans, because this one I know is near and dear to both their hearts. So Megan and Mike, what if January 11th, 2015, it was ruled a catch?
I knew it was coming.
Mike Caratenuto.
Look, it was a catch. And look, I don't care. And I've said this, Eric knows I said before. If it would have been Deshaun Jackson on that play, I would have said it's in the Eagles, it's a catch, because we are not that athletic. Eric, you and I have talked about this. Des Bryant's a freak. These receivers are freaks for the most part. Anybody in the NFL, they can, and their receivers, they're making freaky plays. When you see it in slow motion, it's even more frustrating, in which replay is in slow motion, Eric, right? So
yes,
he catches the ball, he turns. He might be stumbling, but it's still running. He takes 3 full steps, and then he's like, oh my God, I'm right by the end zone. I'm 6'4". Let me reach out with my ginormous hands and go across the end line. Look, I do think they beat Seattle. I don't know if they beat New England in the Super Bowl. I would have been a homer, because look, the year DeMarco Murray was having in that offensive line. Then,
I can't even listen. Even as a Cowboy hater, I cannot ignore that. I can't.
Right. I mean, look, and that's the thing. Like, it's frustrating that because of the Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson, like, we still can't define a catch. But like, when you see it, I mean, when you have the defensive back there, and I forget who that was, my bad, in an interview saying, oh, he caught the ball. Like, he's on him, and he's saying he caught the ball. He's so athletic. He took 3 steps, which is more than a football move. The ground can't cause a fumble. It's a first down. So, I mean, either way, they won up in Seattle earlier that year. Do I think they could have done it again? It would have been very tough with Seattle's defense. But, again, the way they ran the ball, I think they had a great chance to get to the Super Bowl that year.
Megan Price, go ahead.
I mean, I think that I think
Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you're not bitter.
Okay. I don't even know if we have Dak if that happens. You know, Dak ended up coming the next year, and we ended up trading Dez or cutting Dez. And, there was just so much that we lost after that I really think that this would have changed things with our team. Now, I don't know if, like Mike said, I don't know if we go on to win the Super Bowl. I do think we beat Seattle, but I think our team looks drastically different. Our O-line was pretty healthy and yet way younger than our defense was not the greatest, but it definitely wasn't 29th or 30th in the league. It was like 15th. So, we were still somebodies in our defense then. So definitely changes what happens with our team. And I don't know if we have Dak.
Fair enough. Let me go ahead and get Mike. I'm sorry, let me get Ty and John and Alex in here. Gentlemen, give me your thoughts on this. What if it was actually ruled a catch? What does this mean for the Dallas Cowboys?
Go ahead, guys.
I don't got nothing to say.
I don't think it changes.
Hold on. Time out. Ty, every time I brought up this team, you have just pled the fifth. I mean, I'm just saying, I love you because of it, because it can't be nothing good.
I've said this on Twitter, man.
Okay.
It's not the Cowboys I don't like. Their fans, they got the 2 most delusional fans. And Megan and Mike, they're not that bad. But the 2 most delusional fans are the Cowboy fans and these freaking LeBron super fans. They don't have, most of them don't have any type of logic. But I mean, I don't know.
Let me in.
Go ahead.
Let me in. All right. I'm gonna piss Mike and Megan off because I'm gonna be real. Let's imagine that it is a catch. Hey guys, Culture Club, they still lose the damn game.
No,
there's 2 minutes. There's 2 minutes and
No.
13. You had your chance. There's 2 minutes and 13 seconds left in that game. Let's say it was a catch. Let's imagine it's a catch. You scored a touchdown. You're only up 4 points. Aaron Rodgers is carving your defense up. And they already made it in field goal range and kicked the field goal to make sure that the game was out of line. Now, you're telling me a prime Aaron Rodgers couldn't drive down the field and score a touchdown like he did in your stadium to get the game?
Yes, because he was only on one leg, and his fourth quarter wasn't that great. They kicked the field goal because he couldn't move, and he was playing on one leg. Now, yes, Aaron Rodgers is very talented. But I will say this, Alex, it would have been interesting. But Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he chopped some stuff up. But that fourth quarter, he wasn't looking too good. And they challenged it. That was the play. And like Ty says, no, I'm not delusional. That was the call. But if you're an athlete and you understand athleticism, that's a catch. He's a freak of nature, and it was a catch.
And their coach was Mike McCarthy at the time. Y'all know I hate Mike McCarthy. So they lose.
That's your coach, boo. That's your coach.
I don't like him. I don't like him.
John Scheer, please give me your thoughts on this, sir.
So yeah, I mean, it does change things if they win the game. Like Alex said, if it becomes a touchdown, no, Aaron Rodgers probably beat you anyway. I mean, it's not the NFC. It's not the NFC.
Okay. Go back and watch the fourth quarter on one leg. He had one leg all game.
Aaron Rodgers on one leg is better than any quarterback you got on two legs. So let's just throw that out.
It's obnoxious as Dallas fans, the Dallas haters. Swear to God.
It's not, and it's not an NFC championship game.
That's not hate. Hey, let me give you a stat that's absolutely fact. Can you tell me the last time that the Dallas Cowboys beat the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback? Please tell me. Tell me, because I'm curious.
Dak beat him in Green Bay his rookie year. So that's
his
where you go.
Rookie year.
And they don't play every year.
And what happened? And what happened that same year that Dak went up to Green Bay and beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Aaron Rodgers came down there in the playoffs in your little nice Texas stadium, whatever the hell you want to call it, Jones World, and beat you. Not once but twice with the same damn play with Devontae Adams.
Right.
I know somebody. Hey, look,
Cowboys beat him.
I know somebody that got Aaron Rodgers' numbers. I'm just saying.
That's right.
I know a team
We're not
that
talking about San
him
Francisco.
I know a team that touch him up every time we play him. I'm just saying.
We're not talking about San Francisco.
And coaching matters.
But
Coaching
we ain't
matters.
talking
Mike
about
McCarthy
the Jags either, but I'm just saying.
Coaching matters, and he's a bum.
Wow. Gotta love it.
Well, he's better than Jason Garrett.
I don't know about that.
Hey, y'all
Jason
gotta stop blaming
Garrett knew how to get the ball to Zeke. I don't agree with that at all.
Hey, y'all gotta stop blaming everything on Jason Garrett because you got rid of him. You still had the same results last year. Leave that man alone.
Actually, we were a lot worse.
Okay. Says the night. Yeah. All right. Like I said, when hey, you know what? If your team your team had a crap year last year too. So this year with the injury, I'm saying it right. No, I'm saying it right now. For everybody talking about these teams, you don't get to make excuses with injuries this year. I won't. I'll just say we suck. But if any of you bring up injuries, I'm going to say this and that. When you lose
one
all
last
pros,
what if? Does Aaron Rodgers get a chip if McCarthy wasn't
all
his coach?
pros, not Pro Bowlers. When you lose all pros, you don't get to make excuses. I don't want to hear that.
Mike, we had 5 or 6 all pros.
So did the Cowboys. So did the Cowboys on offense. So you're telling me if
for them to be hurt.
If Tyron Smith and Zach Martin and Collins are all healthy, yeah, okay, that doesn't make a difference because offensive line play doesn't make a difference.
No, but you're talking about linemen. I'm talking about on both sides of the ball. We had all Pro Bowlers hurt. A lot of them.
So let's go. We got time. And there will be a smoking section tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to let y'all know. But the last one, Megan brought it up, and I think it's a good question to ask, and I should have put it together. If Mike McCarthy was not the coach of the Green Bay Packers, how many rings does Aaron Rodgers get? So I'm going to start. Megan, you brought it up. I'm going to give everybody about a minute to give me their thoughts on this. You can take a minute. If you don't need it, that's fine. But Megan, I'll start with you, and we'll go around the clock. So Megan, 1 minute. If Mike McCarthy was not the head coach, of the Green Bay Packers, how many rings would Aaron Rodgers have?
I absolutely think he has at least 2, probably 3. Aaron Rodgers has a ton of talent. Now, I do realize the Niners have his number, whatever. But, He absolutely has an astronomical arm. He's very accurate. He's the king of the Hail Mary. Absolutely coaching matters, and McCarthy doesn't know how to run the ball. If McCarthy would have made sure that they got better running backs and they actually utilized that aspect of the game, maybe Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be so exhausted at this point in his career. Really don't need a minute. I'm going to say three chips.
Okay. John Shear?
All right. One. He'll still have one. It doesn't matter if it's Mike McCarthy. Doesn't matter who it is. Aaron Rodgers still can't get along with the head coach. I mean, we saw that as soon as they got rid of Mike McCarthy. It's Aaron Rodgers. It means what? 1-5 in the NFC Championship. That's not Mike McCarthy's fault. That's Aaron Rodgers' fault. You got to get that done if you're one of the best of all time or the best of all time, whatever you consider yourself. So he still only has one because he can't get along with the coach and he can't win the big game. So one and done. That's it for you.
All right, we're going to go 30 seconds here then. I'm just going to put everybody on 30 seconds because it seems like that's all we need. Tyree, how many rings does Aaron Rodgers get if Mike McCarthy is not the head coach? 30 seconds.
That's a hard one. Who is the coach? Is it Andy Reid? Is it John Gruden? I mean, I know they're all they're kind of part of that same coaching tree. I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like on this show, man, when teams lose, boy, they just blame the coach. But I'm going to say if Mike McCarthy isn't the coach, I'm going to go with John. He still has one.
All right. Mike Caratanudo, how many rings?
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on who the coach is. I think a lot of it is Aaron Rodgers' fault because he is a whiner, and then he's complaining about not always calling the plays and not audibling what Mike McCarthy wanted. Yeah, I mean, I'll say he still acts the same way. He gets frustrated with the coach, so I'll say he has two. I'll be nice to him for once and say the talent pulls him through, but you still need to run the ball at some point, and he always wants to chuck it. So I say he has two, but I don't think it's all Mike McCarthy's fault.
Mr. Fleming.
3, and let me tell you why. Once, if it's not Mike McCarthy's dumbass, they probably don't play cover 2 and have a safety in the back to cover the wide receiver for Seattle if it goes to overtime, And before that, Eli Manning. Mike McCarthy had an Eli Manning problem. I think a smarter coach knows to cover the ends and is able to stop the run against the Giants to where they go to the Super Bowl and defeat the New England Patriots. Now, New England probably gives Aaron Rodgers a run for his money, but I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady in the Super Bowl because I'm thinking that's going to be a slugfest.
We saw it in the NFC Championship, and it wasn't pretty.
All right.
Well, you got to think that's different squads, different teams. Tampa Bay is more stocked than any New England squad.
I'm just saying.
Okay. All right.
Look, you can't compare Tampa Bay squad to the New England squad because Tampa Bay from head to toe has better talent than what New England had.
I don't know them early New England squads. That defense is loaded with guys. Willie McGinnis, Ty Law. Like that.
What y'all are failing to realize? What y'all are failing to realize is that the defense might have been loaded, but the offense damn sure wasn't.
Okay, but hold on, Alex. To that point, you can't say that because you had Danny Amendola, you had the Wes Welkers of the world. You had all these. You had no names that Brady made household names. So you can't say, even though those names weren't prominent as a Mike Evans, a Chris Godwin. And by the way, he brought his security blanket out of retirement, Rob Gronkowski. So you can't sit there and say that Brady doesn't have the offensive weapons in New England that he has in Tampa because he brought them with him.
He doesn't. Look, if I can stop getting interrupted, I'd like to explain why. Evans.
We were only going 30 seconds to discuss about Aaron Rodgers and the rings. You want to have this conversation? I think we should maybe.
The only receiver in NFL history to go 7 years straight with 1,000 yards is Mike Evans, number 1. Chris Godwin's a number 1 on at least 30, if not 32 squads. AB's the number 3. Now stop and ask yourself, how the hell is a Hall of Famer the number 3 receiver? Oh, and you got Gronk, O.J. Howard, and Cameron Brate, not to mention Tanner Hudson, who can't block you or me. And the defense is sick, nasty, and we only got better this offseason.
Alex, as you said earlier, leave the defense out of it. As you said earlier, Alex Fleming, leave the defense out of it because I give the defense they respect they deserve. I'll give the defense all day long their respect. If we're talking offenses between what Brady has now versus what Brady had when he was winning AFC championship games and going to Super Bowls and all this other stuff, I will stack rank those and say to you, based on name recognition, you may not have known who those guys were for New England's offense. But when push came to shove, he went to those key guys. Brady right now has a plethora of weapons. You wrote an article. What was it called?
Too many mouths to feed.
Thank you very much. Brady utilized what he had in New England, and he made it work, and it resulted in championships.
But Eric, I would say this. The reason why the defense came up is this. Aaron Rodgers ain't playing against the offense. He's playing against the defense. And I think that New England defense is better than that Tampa Bay defense. You can say what you want to say.
When you know Tom Brady and that offense is on the other side, that puts a lot of pressure on your mind. That puts a lot in the back of your mind saying, I have to score because Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Gronk, Leonard Fournette, all them guys are going to come up. If I don't score, they're probably going to go down and score because they're that damn good. That's a lot on
Do you know who they had on their defense? Teddy Bruschi.
I'm not taking anything away from their defense. Like I said, leave the defenses out of it.
Fine, leave the defense out. Brady also had 1,000-yard rushers his first few runs. Rushing for 1,400 yards isn't a joke. It's the NFL.
Kevin Falk was solid. Troy Brown was solid.
And what's his name? Antoine, the first back that had 1,000. Kevin Falk did too. But before that, he had 3-4 straight years of guys going 12, 13, 50, almost 1,400 yards. So I don't want to hear it. You can chew the clock up. So yes. And their defense, I'm with Ty. Their defense was just as good. Look, you can say Pierre-Paul's is good, but you're telling me Seymour wasn't as dominant on the outside?
Seymour was the man. Back then, Seymour was the man.
Again, leave the defenses out of this conversation. That's the point that I'm making. I'm saying I give respect to both defenses, okay? You put Tom Brady on New England versus Tom Brady in Tampa, and guess what? He will find a way to pick apart those defenses. That's just what he does. I have said this since the day has been long, and no one has still yet to argue with me on this one. You got 2 minutes left in the game and no timeouts, and you got to goal the ball 80 yards to score. Who do you want as your quarterback? Tom Brady.
But Eric, the reason why it came up is the question was, would he have beat those New England teams in the Super Bowl? If he's playing against the defense, that's why it's relevant.
Okay. So then to answer that question directly, yes, Ty, Tom Brady would have found a way to do it. Why? Because that's who he is.
No, but we're not talking about Tom Brady. The question was about Aaron Rodgers. Okay. And Aaron Rodgers, when he's on the field, he's not playing against the offense. He's playing against the defense. That's why I was. You get what I'm saying?
Hey, Tyree, you realize that after he won the Super Bowl, he was MVP because he took Green Bay to a 15-1 record and was astronomical in fantasy, right? You realize this, right?
So So my question is this: why do you think they had so many issues with us? What do we always have, even when our offense was trash?
We
always had a very good defense.
Yes.
And that
maybe not this year.
And regardless of how I feel about that New England defense is better than any San Francisco defense we've had in any of those times.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we're going to keep that conversation because we're going to definitely use that one later on this season, I'm sure. Before we go, I got to shout out our girl, Miss Megan Price, all the work she did covering the Dallas Wings and the U.S. Women's Olympic gold medal team. I know there's big things on the horizon, not only for her, but for the WNBA. So I want to give her props real quick and give her flowers. Megan, phenomenal job. I'm excited to see you on with your new, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but I just got to say, I got a sneak peek of the sip off and mic drop with Megan Price. Y'all are in for something special. Let me just say that. So before we go, though, and like I said, we will do a smoking section. Megan Price, I'm going to give you the floor, please.
Real quick, I want to shout out the Commissioner's Cup. It's a game tomorrow night. It's going to be on Amazon Prime at 9 Eastern. It's going to be between the Seattle Storm and the Connecticut Sun, and they will be playing for $500,000. It's a way the commissioner is enabling the ladies to make more money, and definitely it's an extra competition within the season, and just don't miss out on that. It's on Amazon Prime, 9 Eastern.
Yeah, a lot of love for that one. And as the second half of the season of the WNBA officially kicks back off with the Commissioner's Cup, again, I'm going to say it and I'm going to keep saying it. To the gentlemen in the room and to everybody watching, we need to support this league. 25 years, they have gone through so much to put themselves in a position to be recognized. And we need to keep that energy and that momentum going. They are first on the line when it comes to social injustices. They will speak out for the rights of women, all women. They will speak out for the rights of the minorities, the LGBTQ plus IA community, and just bringing communities together in what they do. I just want everybody to take a moment, do your homework, do your research, but more importantly, show these women some love, because damn it, they athletes. With that, we're going to get out of here. There will be a smoking section for all of us. Mike Carrotino, John Scheer, Ty Ray, Alex Fleming, Megan Price, your man Eric Wilson. Everyone have a great night. Stay tuned if you want to. Might not be for them sensitive ears for the smoking section.
This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
I got something real heavy to lay on you, man.
Now that's what I need.
Please feel free to join us in the smoking section, because we with all the smoke.
For God's sake, strap yourselves down.
And welcome into the smoking section, ladies and gentlemen. This is our opportunity to get some things off our chest. As the disclaimer says, this is not for the faint of heart. So if foul language and maybe some insensitive comments are made, then this ain't the place for you. And normally I'd let everybody else start it off, but I'm going to do my thing and get mine out the way first and foremost here tonight, because I got a big problem. Y'all know me. I wear it on my sleeve. If you can't see, I am a huge Eagles fan. So I respect what the media world does when it comes to Philadelphia. Whether you love us or you hate us, you got to respect us. But when you write an article about one of the players saying that just because he turned 30 makes him a liability, if you will. And then when you try to ask a question in the media press room and he blatantly ignores you, take that and remember it. Now, I'm not going to mention no names out here because you know what? I'm going to save that for a later time. But what I will say to you, though, is this. Be careful of the individuals that you speak upon in a negative manner. Because then when you don't get your way, oh, now you want to start causing a fit, acting like a child. Well, you know what? I'm from Philly. And if there's one thing I know is we pride ourselves on our work ethic. We pride ourselves on giving 110% at what we do and honing our craft. And most importantly, we ain't about to let you try and punk us. Because when that happens, we gonna put our minds, we gonna put our minds in the right place. And we ain't never gonna forget. I truly hope you never get another question answered in any Philadelphia locker room. Your best bet is go right for somebody else. Because Philly, they done with you. With that, I'm going to kick it over to my man, Alex Fleming.
Oh, I got a couple of things to smoke on, but I'm going to start with what I saw at the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony. Now, look, we're all fans of the game. We all love football. But when you make it to that pillar to where you got 5 minutes to talk at the Hall of Fame ceremony, it's difficult to follow everybody up. But after you follow up Peyton Manning, don't be douchebags and leave the ceremony when there's 4 more people to talk about. Just because you're a fanboy of Peyton Manning doesn't mean everybody else is. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely. But his numbers, his skill, his talent, that can't be questioned. But you know what Peyton Manning really was outside of the football field? He was a douchebag. He was a lonely douchebag who liked to change people's numbers on telephones, didn't give back to the community other than the Boys and Girls Club, and he was rude as hell because I saw him be a douche to a little kid with a Tennessee Vols jersey as he walked 7 feet away and dropped it after he signed it on the ground. So stop all that nonsense and show some damn class when you're at Canton, Ohio, talking to people. Number 2, Edgerrin James was a teammate of Peyton Manning. And you know what? He didn't like people who had dreads. But now there's a Hall of Fame bus with people who have dreads in it due to Edgerrin James. His whole commencement speech, you can't judge a book by its cover. Bitch! You want to act like you got dreads and you can't be equal to everybody else getting stopped by cops, terrorized by cops, driving while black. Edgerrin James put cops on notice. Do your damn job.
I think now that the Olympics are over, I think it's time to address, the stipulations as they have, allowing the athletes in. Nneka and Chinny had some issues getting on the Nigerian team. We saw what happened with Sha'Carri. I think it's time to evaluate the banned substances. The MLB was one of the first to take marijuana off the list. I think it's and other leagues have followed suit. So I think it's time for the Olympics to consider that as well. But also, and I'm not sure on exact names here, but there was a track star who had an abortion, and they wanted to do her test within 3 days of her abortion. They didn't allow her to go. She took it to the Supreme Court. They still ruled against her. And then there was another athlete who, a female athlete, who had too much testosterone in her system, and it was naturally produced, and they didn't allow her to compete either. So I think it's time for the Olympics to reevaluate who they allow to try to go to the trials.
Yeah, mine kind of piggybacks off Eric's because I'm sure Ty will fall over. But I know LeBron James released a tweet saying about, make sure you're talking about our ages during the season and stuff like that. Like, I just think it's so lazy of the media to call, I get it. LeBron James has been playing since he was 18 years old in the NBA. And he's going to be, 37 during the season. But that being said, we've said it a million times. Anybody watch sports? I'm not going to call somebody in their 30s old. Yes, I get it. For sports, they can say that. But it's not the 50s. It's not the 60s. It's not the 70s where you would see baseball managers, smoking in the dugout and, guys drinking at halftime of games. And the training, the regimen, everything is so different. So, again, to that reporter, which is perfect, I would ignore their question too. You turned 30. So, yes. According to all these people saying, these athletes are so great. We talk about Tom Brady and his age, and obviously Aaron Rodgers in his upper 30s football-wise. And me being a soccer fan, anybody that's ever seen soccer, a lot of these guys internationally, they'll make their debuts for a team, same at 17 years old. And so by the time they're in their mid-30s, it's kind of we might be a little old for a national team selection, which is crazy to me. Again, a lot of running, but the training, everything is different. It's a year-round thing for these players and athletes. So please, I beg people that just hear things stop saying a team's old. Yes, they're in their 30s, they're older. According to all of you then, this is what drives me crazy, since you want to always talk about age and old, everybody should have to retire when they're 29. Or if you turn 30 during the season, that's your last season because then they'd be too old. Yeah. For what we've seen from a lot of athletes at a quote unquote older age. Yeah. So quit being lazy, quit calling them old. And if you do, good. I hope people like LeBron and others, even though they probably won't, do ignore you because it is lazy and it's ridiculous. And they have the training and the condition to play this long. So stop being lazy and saying that they're old.